Welcome to a revision tutorial by MrMcMillanREvis, making revision easier. This tutorial is for Edexcel GCSE Religious Studies, Unit 3, Religion and Life based on a study of Catholic Christianity. This series is on Unit 3.3, Marriage and Family Life, and in Part 1 I'm going to look at sex and marriage. So how have attitudes to sex and marriage changed in the last 50 to 60 years? In the 1950s, it was the public expectation that most people would save sex for marriage. Most people were married by the age of 25 and would have had a church wedding, with 65% of weddings happening in church, compared with 35% in 2011. If a couple lived together without being married, it was often referred to as living in sin, and a child born out of wedlock was called a bastard. If an unmarried couple became pregnant, it was common for them to get married before the child was born. In the 2010s, it is much more common for people to have sex before marriage, or what we call premarital sex. Some surveys say as many as 97% of people will have sex before marriage. People are more likely now to be promiscuous, meaning to have several sexual partners. According to a 2011 survey, approximately 80% of people in the UK will have more than one sexual partner in their lifetime, with the average number of sexual partners being anywhere between 5 to 10. It is also now much more socially acceptable to live together without being married, which is called cohabiting. On average, people now get married later in life, around about the age of 32, and are less likely to get married in church. What is the Christian attitude to marriage? The Catholic Church teaches that God created man and woman for each other, and that this relationship is most perfectly fulfilled in the sacrament of marriage, although not everyone is called to marriage. In Genesis 2, God says that it is not good for man to be alone, so he created men and women to be joined together. Therefore a man leaves his father and his mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. So what is the purpose of marriage in Christianity? Catholics believe that marriage serves two equally important purposes. Firstly, marriage is meant to be unitive. This means it unites a couple to have a lifelong relationship of love and faithfulness, in which the couple can have mutual support and comfort. Secondly, marriage is meant to be creative. This means it has the potential for the procreation of children and is the best setting for the bringing up of a Christian family. These two purposes, the unitive and the creative, are also the exact same purposes that sex has. Sex is intended, according to the Catholic Church, to unite a couple and to be open to the possibility of the creation of new life. This is why the Church teaches that sex and marriage always go together, since they serve the exact same purposes, to be unitive and to be creative. Or, if you like a little alliteration to make things easier to remember, the purposes of marriage is to be faithful and to be fruitful. What are the main features of a Catholic marriage ceremony? The priest officiates the ceremony and acts as the Church's witness to the marriage. He gives an introduction which explains the purpose of marriage and the understanding that it is not simply a legal contract, validated by the state, but is a sacrament, which means it is a sacred bond blessed by God. One of the key points of the ceremony is the exchange of vows. This involves both the bride and groom making a public declaration in which they promise a lifetime of faithfulness to each other and to accept children as a gift from God. The couple then make their vows to one another, expressing their commitment by saying, "I promise to be true to you in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health. I will love you and honour you all the days of my life." The couple exchange rings, which symbolise the unending nature of the marriage. Prayers are then said asking for God's blessing to be upon the marriage. As we noted earlier, attitudes to sex and marriage within society have changed significantly in the last 60 years. Particularly attitudes to sex outside marriage. But what is the Christian attitude to sex outside marriage? It is possible to distinguish between premarital sex, which is having sex before being married to someone, and extramarital sex, which is having sex with someone when you are already married to someone else. The Catholic Church teaches that sex is an extremely valuable gift from God, created for the joy, pleasure and bond of a married couple, as well as the procreation of children. They believe that sex and marriage should always go together, and therefore sex outside of marriage is morally wrong. The Church teaches that premarital sex is wrong because it goes against the biblical view of marriage as demonstrated in Genesis as a lifelong commitment between two people. The Church teaches that extramarital sex is wrong because it clearly goes against the 10 Commandments, where adultery is specifically condemned. Thanks for watching. I've been Mr. McMillan. That's the end of part 1. For the other parts, please click the appropriate links. If you found this useful, please give this video a thumbs up and follow me on Twitter. You can also download an audio version of this video from iTunes so that you can listen to it on your MP3 device.